Recently, I read your article, Saving Kosovo, in which you point out that the Ahtisaari plan is dead and the ULEX plan has some shocking realities. Why are you so concerned, Mrs. DioGuardi?
Well, Iliro, thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me to your program. I'm deeply concerned because Serbia, now through the UN six-point plan, is trying to accomplish in peace what it wasn't able to accomplish in war. And the UN six-point plan, for me, marks a return to pre-independence policymaking on the part of the international community in relation to Kosovo. Why? Because it allows Serbia to have a say in just about every aspect of Kosovo's future. I'm sure that your listeners are aware of the basic points of the UN six-point plan, but I'm going to stress them here again. It's one based solely on Belgrade's recommendations for Kosovo about customs, border control, police, Serb religious sites, and the deployment of the EU mission called ULEX in Kosovo. And as such, it threatens every aspect of Kosovo's sovereignty. It undermines the independence that was proclaimed on February 17th. The UN is today in power over the EU mission. It was deployed today, in fact, as a status-neutral entity. Well, what does that say in our newly independent Kosovo? It challenges Kosovo's independence. It lays the groundwork for Serbia to actually take over the north permanently, which is where they're now deploying. The six-point plan puts customs in the north under the control of the Kosovo Serbs. Where else would that happen in a sovereign nation? It's not under the control of the central government. And customs in any country governs the flow of goods, services, defense, protection of borders. So what does this mean when applied to the north of Kosovo? It amounts to making the de facto partition of Mitrovica a reality. Under the six-point plan, any Kosovo Serb majority community has a special status. And in our focus on the north, people are missing this point. In all of these communities, the police won't be reporting to the Kosovo police. They'll be reporting to a high-ranking Kosovo Serb police and reporting to the UN. The judiciary won't be under the control of Pristina. It will be under the control of the UN. The Kosovo Serbian Orthodox Church won't be under the control of Pristina. It will be responsible and accountable only to the Serbian Church and Belgrade. So the long and short of all of this is that the UN six-point plan creates an ethnically based parallel system which in fact violates the letter and the spirit of Ahtisaari, which is why I say it's dead, and the Constitution. And tragically, very tragically, it would make Kosovo less of a state than it was under the UN when Resolution 1244 was operative. And it would be more, if implemented completely, carved up than Bosnia. Overnight, if this plan goes into effect in all of its shocking realities, Kosovo would become a failed state. And once that would happen, the struggle for the resolution of the Albanian national cause will be put back again for many, many, many years. And it's this that I'm trying to sound the alarm about to politicians, to press, and basically to Albanian communities throughout the world.
Do you think that with the 4 points plan, the Kosovo government has reacted appropriately?
Unfortunately, no. The 4-point plan, from my perspective, was too little and too late. It was pretty sad to hear Ban Ki-moon say that he was attaching the 4-point plan to the 6-point plan. It's virtually meaningless. Albanian officials in Kosovo and throughout Albanian lands, from my perspective, have not been proactive enough since the end of the war, where Serbia has been working around the clock. They've almost totally ground the recognition process of Kosovo's independence to a halt. But even more important, and this is what I think we need to be all focusing on, they've been succeeding since the end of the war on what I call the propaganda war, while changing the facts on the ground. Albanian officials lost, I think, a huge opportunity in Kosovo and elsewhere to capitalize on the pro-Albanian sentiment around the world after the war. This was the time also to dismantle the Serb parallel structures in the north and to establish Prishtina's authority over the entire territory of Kosovo. But this isn't what happened. What happened instead? Albanian officials in Kosovo and elsewhere have been too complacent and too passive. Why do I say complacent? There's the feeling in Pristina, there has been for quite a time, oh, don't worry, the United States has always been there for us and will always take care of us. That's simply not true, and we can see that right now. The United States backed the six-point plan. Albanians forget that the dominance of the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, and now the economic fiscal crisis in the United States puts Kosovo way at the back burner of issues. But Kosovo has slipped even more because Belgrade has been actively working against it in the press and the parliaments of the world.
I see.
And another thing that I find very troubling, too, is that not only Albanian politicians in Kosovo and elsewhere, but the community as a whole worldwide, forgets that most of the officials in the European Union, the key ones now, have little firsthand knowledge of what Bosnia and Kosovo endured under Milosevic and during the war. And it's this that we need to begin to refocus the international community on once more. We have to go back to the victims of that war. We have to put everyone's face in the fact that it was Serbia, not anyone else, that waged 4 wars of aggression in the Balkans, killing more than 300,000, including, more than 12,000 Kosovars, and displacing, 4 million, destroying the lives of thousands of others. It's this that we have to return the focus of the international community to if we also are going to start to turn these policies back, these very terrible policies. We have a small window of opportunity now, very small, but nevertheless there, to undo the provisions, the other provisions of the six-point plan. Today, ULEX, quote, is deploying. But under some of the pressure that's already been exercised, a little bit from the Kosovar politicians, many from people in the street and the civil society, already the language coming out of the international community is, well, don't worry. We won't move on these other points without any discussion. Well, I can tell you right now, they definitely will unless there is a strong, robust response. No, this is not going to happen. So this is the time for politicians to wake up and to move decisively and proactively.
Are you optimistic that Ms. Hillary Clinton, a strong supporter of Kosovo during and after the war of 1999, is going to influence positively in turning things around in Kosovo when she takes her position in Obama's administration? Well,
actually, I don't think any of us know what Hillary Clinton's position is going to be in relation to Kosovo. That's going to take, first of all, several months into the new administration, assuming that, we can see what those are. But we have to realize that her role is totally changed. She's no longer an advocate for her constituents in the Albanian world in Kosovo. Instead, she's representing President Obama's policies, politics, and she may be able to influence the president in relation to Kosovo, but we haven't seen her take a lead yet in the Senate in the past on Kosovo, first of all, because she, wasn't on the Foreign Relations Committee, and she was also a junior senator. So we don't know. This is why, by the way, our Albanian American Civic League has relied on in the past and will continue to rely on Senators Biden, Schumer, and McCain, and of course, Joe Biden is now vice president, and he's presumably going to have a lot to say about foreign policy.